So we have scope. So maybe you could state your name, your organisation and your interest, please.
My name is Gary Fisher. I'm the manager of assets at Scope, and I'm here with Bryce Craggs.
And I'm the general manager of strategic change and information for Scope itself.
Okay. To give you a bit of background first, Scope is one of the largest not-for-profit disability service providers in Victoria. We support over 7,000 people with disabilities and their families. Obviously, in delivering that support, transport's been a crucial or critical factor, getting people to and from their places of employment, to and from their homes, into the community, to day and lifestyle services that they attend as well. Historically, we've provided transport through specialist vehicles that Scope owned. We had, at one stage, we had the largest private fleet of client-carrying vehicles in Victoria. Our focus over recent years has been to move more and more people onto taxi runs, and that's because we know they can be reliable, we know they can be efficient, cost-effective, and they can be safe. As an organization, we do value the relationships that we've developed with taxi providers and individual drivers, recognize the importance of those relationships, as do the people with disabilities who use those services on a daily basis. We feel in making the transition more to taxis, we've learned a lot over the years. Happy to share our learnings with the inquiry team and the Taxi Services Commission that is proposed, or any others, as we go forward with this. Still, we recognize there's much that can be done to improve the industry. We support the majority of the recommendations that have been outlined in the draft report, and even where we have expressed some concerns, we don't feel that they are insurmountable. We would be happy to work with the team, the Australian Services Commission, and try to make improvements to that industry so it meets the needs of people with disabilities as well as many others.
I think just to add to what Gary was saying, over the last 5 years, we have learnt a lot. We have learnt how to overcome the fear that clients and carers have around taxis and the use of taxis. There was a degree of comfort that people had with the consistency of a scope-driven, scope-owned vehicle, but certainly we couldn't make those vehicles work because of utilisation issues and things like that. We virtually had to go to a different model. And 5 years ago, we identified that the potential for taxis to be an alternative to us and to clients, because we are not funded to provide vehicles and transport. We're funded to support clients to get their own transport. So we have progressively worked with parents, clients themselves, and the drivers, training the drivers as to what the specific needs of the clients are, introducing the drivers to the clients themselves, building that relationship, which is the foundation of a successful transport option going forward. So it's a hard road that we've travelled. It hasn't been easy. There has been a lot of angst that has been raised every time we transition clients to a taxi run rather than a vehicle. And we use the term taxi runs because we actually purchase packages of taxis or runs, and we then make sure that we utilise those vehicles as effectively as possible to get the clients to and from where they need to be. So we route clients around and make sure that 3 or 4 clients are occupying a vehicle, 2 or 3 clients occupying a vehicle, so we get maximum utilisation for those vehicles and those packages of runs that we get. But I think what's happened over the last 2 years has been a significant shift in the culture of and the acceptance of the use of taxis for what are very, very vulnerable clients. They now are forming relationships with specific taxi drivers. They feel comfortable that if they get into a crisis, the specific driver knows how to deal with them. They feel that the taxi driver understands them when they communicate with them, because they do have communication problems and making themselves understood. They don't feel as vulnerable as they thought they would be. So it's an important learning. And we need to take that forward, because we believe that there are efficiencies that we could gain in providing client transport options, and we're looking at exploring those moving forward, both with the taxi industry and also the conservatively estimated 1,800 client-carrying vehicles that sit outside of that industry in the disability sector in Victoria alone. There are certain opportunities there which we're exploring at the moment. We can go into those in a bit of detail if you need to.
So I wonder if you could make a comment on the central booking system. You've commented in here, obviously, but just say a bit about that.
We did comment on it. One of our original fears when we first read the draft was that people would be forced to give up their private arrangements, the relationships that they had developed with specific drivers, and be forced to go into the central booking service. That concerned us specifically because of the importance of the relationship between drivers and the people that we provide services to. They need to feel that there is somebody driving them who knows their needs, knows how to communicate with them, somebody that they can feel safe with. It takes a while to develop those sorts of relationships, and we were fearful that that would be destroyed if they had to take anybody that was available through the central booking service. We've since been reassured that that isn't the case, that private booking still will be allowed. We are committed to moving and encouraging or building that trust in a central booking service. So we will certainly work with the industry in terms of getting more and more use of central booking services, but just need to recognize that it'll take a bit of time to build that trust in the system, because historically it hasn't been the greatest to use. Yeah, it'll take that time, and as long as there's that understanding, that it does take time, we will certainly support the change.
One of the things that Scope could offer to make the central booking service more effective for the clients is the extensive training that we do offer to the taxi drivers that we introduce to the clients themselves. It's not just disability awareness training, it's some very specific training in regards to how to interface with certain groups of clients, how to recognise the needs of those clients, how to support them with getting them comfortably to and from the vehicle, etc. It's very client specific, but we are able to tailor that to meet the needs of both the client and the drivers. So I think that expertise can't be discounted. It would form an integral part of a system if you want to broaden out the matching between the client and the specific and a group of drivers. You'd need to be able to have a good, consistent training process there. The other
just on that, can I interrupt? Do you have any specific training that you give to the taxi drivers you have now?
Yes,
you're using.
We have disability awareness training for all of our staff, and we we provide that to the taxi drivers themselves, and they avail themselves of that. But certainly, in our industry, we are regularly bringing staff on in client-facing roles, and we have an extensive training program for that.
Where we have had some passengers who have epilepsy or particular conditions, we've also offered that training to drivers, and they've taken that up.
So that's in addition to their normal sort of required training?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We are also looking at how we can put greater choice into the client's hands. So we are talking with experts in IT technology, around what's happening internationally on client booking systems, and there's some very innovative technologies that are available, and we're looking at that certainly for our own client carrying fleet, but also there's a possibility where it could interface with a central booking system or supplement or complement a central booking system where, an individual can actually see what vehicles are available, when they want to travel, share a vehicle with another individual with a disability who lives close by. There are a number of drivers that influence value from a client's point of view, and it's not necessarily just having a vehicle turning up on time. Price is a significant driver. If they could share, they will. Consistency of driver or experience of driver is a significant factor, and we find that our clients are willing to vary their time requirements so that other factors are met, security, safety, the ability to save by sharing a vehicle with somebody else. And that's what we offer so far with our routing system, where we make sure that the vehicle has a maximum carrying capability to the extent that we can. And if we can expand that beyond the scope client pool, I mean, at the moment we do that for our own clients, but that could be made available to a broader pool. The outcomes for people with disabilities will be enormous.
Just on a very general question, what is the possible impact of a national disability insurance scheme on this whole thing?
The biggest impact, the National Disability Insurance Scheme is moving funding from service providers and government to the clients. The client will be able to make choices about what they use their funding for. The second impact is that there will be more money into the system itself. The NDIS, or the Productivity Commission, identified that there is a significant funding gap at the moment, and they're looking at maybe 100% increase in funding available, and that money will go to the clients. That means that the clients will have discretionary income to choose what they do. If we had a cost-effective system that enables them to have choice, they will choose transport. Transport is an incredibly important decision factor for their quality of life. But at the moment, they have very limited options in regards to it. Book a taxi, wait for the taxi, pay yourself for the full cost of the taxi itself. I remember we had a board member that in her own right, she's a person with a disability, made a submission to the NDIS inquiry, the Productivity Commission inquiry, and she made a statement that she had to spend 25% of her discretionary income just to go from where she was living to the hearing itself for that week, 25% of the income. If she had an option where she couldn't use public transport, she had to use a taxi, if she could have shared that with somebody, she could have halved that cost. These are important decisions for people with disability. If the NDIS gives them the money, they will make choices based on what's best for them, and we need to give them the option to make those choices.
And even before that, obviously, they do have very limited disposable income and need to carefully consider how best to use that in terms of sharing arrangements and when they need to go to various places and so on.
Yeah.
And I believe that any organisation that is going to provide a coordination role for these sorts of vehicles or client-carrying vehicles need to be cognizant of the fact that, the ability to share and the ability to have consistency of who the driver is that provides the transport, some level of consistency there, are important factors for them from the client point of view.
We've noticed a huge degree of interest in this inquiry by the disability sector. I think you would have too. We've had several forums, and there's a high level of interest in it.
Yes.
You've given us quite a detailed response, which is appreciated. Do we have other things?
if I may say, the
Yeah.
degree of interest is directly related, I believe, to the importance that transport has to the client,
Yep.
especially the people that we provide services to, and the gap that currently exists between what they would see as an acceptable system and what currently exists. There are pockets where it is improving, and the work we've done with taxis and our own vehicles, and other organisations have done with their own vehicles, is helping bridge that gap, but the gap is still exists, and they see this inquiry as an opportunity to start closing some of that gap.
People with disabilities, even within our services, have experienced very poor service over a number of years, numerous times waiting on a Friday afternoon for 3 or 4 hours for a taxi to arrive, even getting to the point where they just live to accept that level of service. This was a good opportunity with the inquiry for them to really have a say on all sorts of issues about the affordability, about the reliability, about the importance of those relationships and so on. So I'm not at all surprised that there was a level of interest.
And I think one of the things you pointed out in the submission was the lack of confidence in booking systems and so on, which has led to a lot of this direct-to-driver bookings. You don't see that, that problem can be avoided with a central system?
What we've found is that the drivers actually appreciate the consistency that our system offers.
Yeah.
They know that they have got a fare, and if they turn up, they've got that fare day in, day out, 5 days a week. And we can provide that level of consistency, and I think a proper system where we have a proper routing system can provide that level of consistency. So there's a benefit to the driver and also a benefit to the client. People do need to get to activities on a daily basis, let alone their personal interests outside of going to work or going to a day service. And once the relationship and the consistency is formed, what we find is the clients that have that relationship built up during the day for the scheduled activities can then ring up that taxi driver and have a degree of comfort. The taxi driver has a relationship with them for an after-hours booking event. Whereas if they don't have that relationship up front, they're often at risk of being left stranded somewhere.
I was just going to, you did make a comment here, and I mean, we've heard from Frankston already, and Frankston have a significant number of Watt vehicles, and I haven't heard any negative aspects about that, but you do comment in the submission that you'd experienced instances in which good Frankston drivers were restricted in the support that they could offer outside their zone. Are you able to sort of elaborate on that at all? What was the issue?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong about this, but my understanding is that they haven't been able to accept jobs outside of their zone. They could take one from the Frankston zone to another area of Melbourne, but they couldn't accept one coming back. And we knew that Frankston cabs in particular had a very good reputation. We would love to use them more, but at times we were restricted by that.
So that was the issue.
So what's being proposed to change those areas, we certainly support.
Okay, thanks.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thanks for the opportunity.
Thank you.